Hey everybody, today we're going to be going over the Captain in Risk of Rain 2. More specifically, we're going to be talking about how to play him, the item builds that you can run on him, and a whole bunch of quirks that are basically just for the Captain. To unlock the Captain, you are going to have to beat the entire game of Risk of Rain 2, so if you haven't done that already, check out my video, top right corner. But without further ado, let's begin the Captain guide. For starters, the Captain has a passive that is completely unique in the game of Risk of Rain 2. This passive is called Defensive Microbots and actually takes up an item slot in his inventory. Defensive Microbots passively shoot down nearby enemy projectiles, and drones are also given Microbots. So let's focus on the first part of this real quick. The defensive Microbots will shoot down any nearby enemy projectiles. Now, what constitutes a projectile in the game is really kind of random. However, hit scans such as the Wisps and the Stone Golems will actually not be blocked. Basically, any slow-moving attack that comes towards you is going to be blocked. Greater Wisps, theirs is blocked. The Lemurians, theirs is blocked. The Macholites, Spikes, those are blocked. The Beetle Guard's Shockwave attack, which sends a sort of spike towards you, that's blocked. There's almost an innumerable amount of things that are just blocked by defensive Microbots. Also, if you purchase drones, those also get your defensive Microbots. So you could have several healing drones around you, essentially blocking anything that is a projectile and keeping you 100% safe. There is a whole bunch of cheese strategies surrounding getting more defensive Microbots, as they do stack, weirdly enough. However, you cannot legitimately get these in any other way other than cheesing the game. If you have an artifact that allows you to fight your doppelganger, sometimes your doppelganger will drop the passive. Also, you can scrap your passive and it will spawn in the next round, giving you a free legendary scrap. It is likely that this will be patched out in the future, but I doubt it's on Hapu's radar as they have other things to worry about, so this will be a legitimate strategy for a while. Oh, and final note for the defensive Microbots, they actually get boosted by attack speed. So the more attack speed you have, the better the defensive Microbots get at blocking these shots. Alright, now let's talk about the Captain's Vulcan Shotgun, which is his primary ability. Everyone who has ever touched the Captain will say that the Vulcan Shotgun is the best M1 in the game, period. Vulcan Shotgun fires a blast of pellets that deal 8 times 120% damage. Charging the attack narrows the spread. So this means that each pellet actually does 120% damage, and each pellet has a proc coefficient of 0.75. This means that the chance of proccing something with an on-hit effect is extremely high when you're playing the Captain. Also, because you can actually charge it and narrow the spread, it is incredibly accurate at any range. One thing to note is that it is a waste of time to charge the weapon when you are at a close distance. This is because it takes quite a while for you to charge it all the way up, and you could just be spamming the button. So never charge it if you can just spam it. Also, this scales with attack speed pretty well. And interesting mechanic, the Vulcan Shotgun has a tremendous amount of knockback. Pro tip for anyone who does not know this, jellyfish and wisps can both be knocked into the environment, which will then destroy them immediately. This means if you use your Vulcan Shotgun and hit them with enough pellets to knock them back far enough that they hit a wall, you will instantly kill them regardless of their health. So Vulcan Shotgun gives you a freebie on killing any wisps or jellyfish. Captain's secondary, the Power Taser, is the worst M2 in the game. Balance in all things, as his M1 is one of the best M1s in the game, so I guess he has to be relatively weak in this department to make up for it. The Power Taser is a 6-second cooldown with a 1.0 proc coefficient that fires a taser that deals 100% damage and travels farther if bounced. This taser will shock enemies, which essentially just means it stuns them. It does have a small AoE effect, so you can stun multiple enemies, and although I did call it a stun, technically it is a shocking effect, which just freezes them in place until you deal damage to them. Doing damage cancels the effect, and if you don't do damage after 5 seconds, it is broken anyway. So lackluster or not, the taser does have its uses. Okay, next up we have the Captain's utility, which is a buttload of damage. Orbital Probe is an attack that allows you to request up to 3 orbital probes from the UES Safe Travels. Each probe deals 1500% damage. This means out of the 3 probes that you summon, each one does separately 1500% damage. Each one also has a proc coefficient of 1. In other words, this is a high damage, high proc coefficient attack that comes with 3 separate charges. The one downside to this massive amount of damage that this does is that it does take a while for your probes to actually land on the enemy. This makes hitting flying enemies quite difficult to do, and really should only be used against slow-moving, tasered enemies, or just bosses. Also, another problem with this ability is the fact that your shotgun actually knocks back enemies. So, any enemies that you knock back out of your orbital strike will make you feel Pepe bad. Instead, just taser a group of enemies, then use your orbital strike, then after the orbital strike lands, kill any remaining enemies with your Vulcan Shotgun. Finally, the biggest caveat is that you currently cannot use this ability in any of the hidden realms. This includes the Bazaar Between Worlds, the Void Portals, and the Gold Portal. So yes, when you are fighting Aurelionite, one of the harder bosses in Risk of Rain 2, you cannot actually use one of your stronger abilities. But other than that, Orbital Strike is his second best skill and does a buttload of damage, provided you have the correct items, which will be coming up in a bit. Alright, for Captain Special, we have a long one here. Captain Special Orbital Supply Beacon allows you to request a permanent supply beacon, but can only be requested twice per stage. The initial loadout that you have as soon as you unlock Captain is Beacon Healing and Beacon Shocking. Basically, how this works is similar to Orbital Strike. You select your ability, then you select where you want it to land. Be careful where you put this, as you can't move it and you can only use it once per stage. You can select between your M1 or M2 whenever this comes out for consoles. I'm not exactly sure what your buttons will be, but I think you'll get what I'm saying. These beacons take a little while to actually activate, so you're not going to be able to immediately call down something. You'll have to be a tad bit patient. Also, the beacons do 2000% damage each. It's a weird interaction, but if you call this down on something's head, it will actually take 200% damage. And finally, in regards to the raw mechanics of the ability, you can actually cancel the targeting by sprinting. I had no idea how to cancel it when I first tried it. I almost wasted a charge, but then I realized you can sprint and cancel it. I think it's the only way to cancel it. Also, and I know I said finally earlier, you can actually select 2 of the same beacon type. So for example, you can have 2 healing, 2 shocking, 2 hacking, 2 whatever. This means you could have 2 of the same beacon per stage, but other than that, you can't really have any more. Now let's finally talk about the beacon types. There are 4 beacon types in the game, and you only have 2 unlocked at the very beginning, which are healing and shocking. Let's talk about those real quick. So the healing beacon will heal all nearby allies for 10% of their maximum health every second. So essentially a super valuable bustling fungus. The beacon shocking will periodically shock all nearby enemies, immobilizing them. So every 3 seconds it will essentially taser anyone in the AoE. Sadly, this has no effect on bosses and it doesn't do any damage, so it's kind of weak. Next, the other 2 are unlocked by completing the Captain's challenges. We have Beacon Resupply and Beacon Hacking. Beacon Resupply is unlocked via the Captain Wonderlust challenge. You recharge equipment on use. This beacon can be used up to 3 times, it's not just a single use. And all you have to do is go up to the beacon, click it, and then you get 1 charge. If you have fuel cells, you can actually get multiple charges, but you can only get the max 3. So if you had 3 fuel cells, 1 beacon would essentially fill all of your fuel cells. This can be strong if you're stacking Preyons, but for most low cooldown skills, this is kind of a waste. Finally, we have Beacon Hacking, which is unlocked worth every penny, and it is the best beacon by far. What Beacon Hacking does is it hacks all nearby purchasables to a cost of $0 over time. Now, we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about Beacon Hacking because this one has the most unique interactions in the entire game. So for starters, every time you put down a Beacon Hacking, it will immediately start hacking the nearest interactable. So if you put it outside of the range of any boxes, it's not going to do anything. It has to be in range. This works on essentially anything that can give you items, and yes, it does actually work on Shrine of Chances. How this works is that it hacks the Shrine of Chance the first time. This is important. The first time, it will put it to a $0 amount and will automatically open the item for you. Then, any further purchases from that Shrine of Chance cost 0 gold. No matter how many times you hit it, it will be 0 gold. This makes Shrines of Chances the most valuable thing to use your beacon hacking on. Although this is only a Shrine of Chance, so you can't guarantee a green item, or you can't guarantee that you're going to have more than 2 tries at it, but overall, it is the most valuable as you don't have to waste money. This beacon also works on shops. How this works is the closest shop will be the one that it hacks, and this beacon can be used on any and all chests. So large chests, that's a yes, it can definitely hack those. Legendary chests, it can actually hack those as well. The more money it costs, or the higher rarity of the item in the chest, I believe, the longer it takes. It takes a pretty long time to get the legendary item, but it does in fact hack the legendary chest. So without a doubt, the beacon hacking is always the best beacon to bring. I bring double every time I play captain, as it speeds up my runs tremendously. With the new difficulty scaling increased by 10%, it's much more important that you get out of stages very quickly. And being able to immediately grab items from the spawn and not having to camp them makes this mucho easy to do. Okay, so now let us talk about the item builds item synergy for the captain. First off, it's hard not to mention the new rework Kajaros and Ronalds, as these are perfect for the captain. They only proc when you do 400% damage, and the 1500% from Orbital Probes means a guaranteed proc. So once you hit them with an Orbital Probe, it will do 1500% plus the 300% from the Kajaros band. So those two items are really good on the captain. In reality, basically anything that is on hit is going to be good for the captain because he can proc like crazy, and the procs that he does do hit horde. Sticky bombs are really good as they do total damage, and even with one sticky bomb, I've been able to actually attach multiple in a single shot. Tri-tip dagger with a new bleed is absolutely insane on the captain. Once you get enough tri-tip daggers on the captain, you can actually bleed every hit and every pellet. This makes stacking bleed super easy on the captain and makes a tri-tip dagger a really good item on him. The ATG, as always, is a great item because you have a 10% chance to do 300% total damage. It's not as good as the Kajaros and Ronalds now, but as the game gets later and you're able to proc this more often than you are the Ronalds or Kajaros, it is actually a better item. Ukulele is also really good on him for more on-hit effects and for chaining more on-hit effects. 57 leaf clover is good on everyone, I will say that, but on this guy and multi, it's pretty insane because you have even more chances to actually roll for random luck. Brilliant Behemoth is also really good. Every single one of your pellets explodes with the Brilliant Behemoth attack. Brainstalks is exceptional as it reduces the cooldown and allows you to spam your orbital probes. And similarly, you also get the Hard Light Afterburner, which gives you several charges of these. So either of those items is absolutely insane. Of course, Sentient Meat Hook is also good for the on-hit effect, but I don't want to keep just repeating red items. Now, most of the time I wouldn't go into boss items, however, with the new update, there are a bunch of really good boss items, especially on the captain. Molten Perforator with a 10% chance on hit to call 3 magma balls from an enemy, dealing 300% damage each. Absolutely insane. It's basically an ATG missile. It's just, I don't think the balls seek people, but I do think that it does more damage if each of the balls connects. And finally, Shatter Spleen, which causes critical strikes to bleed enemies for 240% base damage, which is just basically a normal bleed. Bleeding enemies explode on death for 400% damage plus an additional 15% of their maximum health. This makes it so even if all you have is crits and a Shatter Spleen, you're actually doing AoE, bleeds, and crits at the same time. So effectively, Shatter Spleen is one of the most efficient items to get. That being said, I don't think there's a specific boss that Shatter Spleen actually spawns from, and you can just get it in general from any boss. Definitely one of the better items to get, especially if you have any crit at all. In terms of mobility, you definitely have to pick up some because the captain has absolutely zero mobility in his kit, so picking up a Wax Squale or Hapu Feathers is pretty mandatory as he has no other way of getting away from enemies. But in all seriousness, all you have to do is pick up a single Wax Squale and most of your mobility problems are solved, so just a single Wax Squale should do it. Anyway, that's it for the guide. If you do like this, please like, comment, and subscribe. And you know, if you want to check me out on Twitch, twitch.tv/RND Thursday, that would be super duper. I'm going to be playing the crap out of Risk of Rain 2 for the foreseeable future, so go check me out, drop me a follow, and maybe you'll catch me on stream. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you have a nice day. See ya.